Good afternoon and hello, everyone. My name is Rich Longo, and I'm your host for today's webcast presentation. Now, today is a very different presentation from anything that we've done in the past. This is definitely tool agnostic and thought provoking, and it is designed to have audience participation. We want you to participate. We want you to have comments. We want you to contribute today during our presentation. And our presenters are both Bobby and Kyle of Flycast Partners. Bobby McCullough and Kyle Hamilton both have been with Flycast Partners for a number of years. They both have well over 20 years each in the IT industry and everything from ITSM, ITM, ITOM, and everything in between. And before we get started, let me introduce our organization. Flycast Partners here to deliver seriously amazing IT experience. We were founded and staffed by personnel that have many years of experience in the IT space. So we took those best ideas from these collective experiences and added the best components necessary to grow and become a leading value-added reseller in the North American IT market. We have well over 5,600 implementations or engagements, professional service engagements under our belt here in North America with over 1,200 customers. We offer best-in-class implementation services and engagement services, professional services, whatever those services may be, and training and IT service management, IT asset management, IT operations management, IT security, workload automation spaces, all using ITIL best practice. We also offer remote administration services and L1 support and L2 support, depending on what that tool may be that you're utilizing. I encourage you to visit our website, check out some of the things that we offer, chat with our folks live Monday through Friday during normal business hours. They're more than happy to get you white papers, data sheets, help you out with training, ITIL, or just want to chat back and forth about a topic. That's what they're there for. Or you can email us at info@flycastpartners.com. Once again, I want to emphasize that during today's presentation, please go ahead and interact with us. Kyle and Bobby will be asking a variety of different questions throughout this webcast, and we'll be taking polls from you live. So we encourage you to participate in that. If you have any comments or questions, we encourage you to submit those in the questions section of this broadcast. Before we get started with Bobby and Kyle, I am going to share with you a couple minutes of an interview that I did most recently with Eastern Washington University. Now, during this interview, their CIO and VP of IT explained some of the challenges they were having with their ITSM solution and why they had to right size. So I'm going to go ahead and air that for you, and then we'll get into Bobby and Kyle.
Yeah, so I actually started at Eastern Washington University just about 3 years ago this week. And so, when I arrived, our ITSM environment really consisted of a partially implemented installation of ServiceNow, as well as an older implementation of Web Help Desk. And so they had managed, they had licensed ServiceNow as a replacement for Web Help Desk a number of years before I had arrived. It had gone through professional services with a couple of partners, and then finally ended up doing a self-implementation of incident management, but none of the other features of ServiceNow. And if you're familiar with that platform, it's like a big box of Legos, requires a lot of care and feeding to make it something something out of it. Doesn't really kind of come package. Web Help Desk was generally liked by the staff. However, one of the reasons that they had wanted to move was more automation, as well as it was a very old version of Web Help Desk running on premises, against an old Oracle database, very, very slow, and it was very frustrating for the staff. But unfortunately, they had the worst of both worlds, a partially implemented ServiceNow instance, and then Web Help Desk, and they were splitting. So incident management wasn't one, but their old knowledge base, old ticket history, change management was still being performed in Web Help Desk. It just was not a great environment. So, one of the first things I wanted to do was talk to the staff. What things were they happy about? What things were they unhappy about? And this quickly emerged as an issue. And because of the frustration and issues with both of those platforms, people had retreated to be using email or in some cases, Skype for Business in order to provide support. So there was very little visibility into any sort of issue. Unfortunately, that meant little communication, so that when somebody was reporting an outage, there wasn't really anywhere to track it. That we couldn't track problems. We couldn't really take advantage of all of those things that a modern ITSM platform, enables, and those, parts of the ITIL model that we wanted to adopt or had tried to adopt in the organization before I had arrived. So, given that, it was a pretty easy decision to do a review. Should we keep what we've got? Should we re-implement it, or what should we do? And pretty much the universal feeling was, let's dump what we got and let's go ahead and look at other platforms. And so, I had a few things that I wanted. I wanted to make sure that it was not on-prem. It needed to be software as a service. We just didn't have the staffing necessary to support something that was kind of build your own. We needed a solution that would be really accessible, easy to use for us, as well as, frankly, easy to use and understandable for our clients. And so, we looked at all of the kind of major leading platforms out there, as long as they met our requirements, that we didn't have to build it. We wanted something that was really kind of ready to go from day one, but included full ITSM support. So we didn't just look at help desk solutions. We needed something that had all those elements, even if we weren't necessarily quite ready to start using them. And that was key for us, which was, we didn't really have a complete inventory. We didn't, we had change management, but we didn't have other pieces of the ITSM, and ITIL model employed, but we knew that we wanted to take advantage of them eventually, but it wasn't a requirement in terms of day one, we need those things to be working. Now, that said, we wanted them in the platform.
Thanks for that video, Rich. That was a nice insight into, a customer looking at right-sizing their ITSM. So we kind of wanted to start this out with something that everybody can understand. Maybe purchasing, this may be your first ITSM, your first interaction with an ITSM tool, or purchasing an ITSM tool. So we kind of wanted to bring this down a level or two and make it something that everybody can understand. So we want to talk in general about what it means to right-size your purchase. And really with that, it's talking about optimizing your return on investment. You're making a big purchase. You want to get out of it what you need, what you expect. And that's really ROI. Sometimes there's a dollar amount in that, but not always. There's especially with things like a home, there's a comfort and usability factor that applies to ITSM tools as well. So what happens when you buy more house than you need? So here we're looking at a single parent with a child, no pets, no farm animals. They've got three choices in the houses. They have to think about their size. They don't really have any pets or animals to worry about. So they need a garage. Those type of things. If they buy more house than they need, then the house isn't going to be used to its fullest capacity. You're going to have features maybe of the house that you're not using. Rooms that are just closed off that you really don't do anything with. Your mortgage, your payment for that house is going to be higher. If it's an apartment, your rent is going to be higher. You've got higher maintenance costs. Think about maintenance costs from a dollar amount, but also an effort. If you've got too big of a house, that's more house to sweep, more house to vacuum, more house to dust. So that's additional work that you may not necessarily need. So what happens when you don't buy enough? Maybe you've got a family with farm animals. Kyle, we were talking before the call today. Kyle has a Jeep and a motorcycle that he likes to work on, and he has tools for those. So he needs a place that allows him to work on those grown-up toys and store the tools for that. I've got chickens, so I need a place that's going to allow me to have chickens and allow me to have a place to keep those chickens.
Yeah, and my comment to Bobby was, I wanted to make sure that I had at least house number 2 in between Bobby and I, so that have to listen to his chickens or his roosters in the morning. And you won't have to listen to me, rumbling my motorcycle late at night.
That's true. That's true. But all of those things go in. Do you have enough bathrooms? Is your kitchen big enough? If your kitchen's not big enough, then do you have people over like you would otherwise? Do you socialize at your home like you would otherwise? Do you have enough bathrooms? Do you come back from a trip and somebody's waiting out in the hallway uncomfortable for a period of time? None of that stuff is fun, especially if you're making the payment on the house. You want that to be right sized from the start. You want to you don't want to necessarily have to pay any more than you need to, but you want to solve your problems. You've got issues that need to be addressed, and you want to make sure that if it's a big dollar purchase, that you're going to address those issues without going overboard. Maybe preparing yourself for the future so that you've got scalability and able to grow. But the last thing you want to do is buy too much or too little from your purchase. Kyle, you have anything to add there before I move to the next slide?
No, I'll go ahead and go to the next slide, Bobby, and I think we'll start asking a few questions.
So thinking about your own situation, your own organization, your own ITSM tool, are you underbought? Are there problems that you have, issues that are just difficult to resolve with your ITSM tool? Are there processes that are cumbersome, maybe seem to fall out of idle best practices because of how you have to use your tool, or maybe how your data is set up? So are you underbought with regard to that? Are you overbought? Do you fall into the category like the video, the recording that Rich played for us at the beginning of the hour? Do you fall into that category where, yes, it's got all these features, but we're just having a tough time using them all? Last category, unknown. You just don't know what situation you're in. So Rich, if we can, let's send a poll out and let's ask everybody which group they feel they fall into. We'll give them a minute or two to answer that.
Okay, we're going to enter that poll right now, folks. So give me 1 minute.
Yeah, while they're responding to that, I want to also refer back to one of the comments that came out of the video, which was a pretty common solution that I'd also like to hear some feedback from everybody on the call on, in terms of, do you guys have a centralized service management and service support center, or do you have that scenario where you've got pockets where one group is using one tool and another group is using another, and a third group using yet another? And there's efficiencies and a need, or maybe even a corporate drive to simplify and drive everything into a single support center, versus having those, because it's often broken down around departmental lines, where you've got HR sets up their own thing, and IT does their own thing, and security and all these different teams, they kind of establish their own practices and their own way of operating with their customers and users. But oftentimes there's efficiencies by unifying process, but also in just getting rid of 5 different sets of licensing and 5 support contracts, and getting unified on a single platform.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good point.
It looks like we've got some great poll results, so I'm going to go ahead and close that poll up. And it looks like our poll results are as such. Which group do you fall into? It looks like the majority say unknown. They're not sure.
I was just going to say, 38% feel they're underbought, 13% feel they're overbought. So you guys are kind of across the spectrum. You can definitely take advantage of someone, that's willing to help you right size. Rich, why don't we send another question out and just ask them, what are you using multiple tools, and which, Kyle's question about being siloed, and then which tools they're using.
Okay, so, and I just want to read off a comment, and I want to remind everyone this particular webcast is very different from anything we've done in the past. It is based on audience participation and being part of our polls and your questions and comments. And I want to read off what Sherry has to add to this. She says, yeah, everyone goes their own way. It's hard to get them to agree on a system. Great comment.
Yeah.
What's the next question we're going to enter here?
So we want to know if they're using multiple tools and which ones they're using.
Within the organization, if they've got more, if there's more than one service management or service desk, essentially, because that's what tends to happen is it breaks down into departmental, lines, and everybody kind of sets up their own support channel. Some of it's via email, some of it's via Microsoft Teams. Some of them use Jira or some off-the-shelf freeware. We see these pockets, and all of that is good. They're trying to do the best, for their users. But as a company, there's a bigger, perspective to step back and take a look at in terms of being able to unify everybody on a single platform and a single place to go versus segmenting things out and having, different kind of responses from different groups that your users have to deal with. And, referring to that, the first response where you got that unknown group at 50%, that's not uncommon either. That's the I don't know what I don't know group.
Right.
That's where you've bought a tool and you're using it today, and you've implemented it. You implemented it initially to fix those, to put out the fires, the things that you needed to deal with initially. And then what happens is most implementations typically stall right there at that point. You get all the big fires taken care of. You get all the real low hanging fruits that you have to have, and just can't pass up. But when it comes to then saying, okay, we've got all of these pieces now taken care of, let's look at what else can the tool do for us going forward? Or not even going, looking at additional processes or implementing something else like a knowledge base, but how can we use the tools that are available within this solution to make what we're already doing more efficient and cut the time down and make it better for the interaction with us and our customer?
Well, I'm watching the poll progress on this question about multiple tools, and that's pretty interesting. It's kind of what I expected. It looks like 2/3 to 3/4 of everyone are using multiple tools, and Kyle, from our years doing this, that's a sort of a Tower of Babel situation. Everybody can communicate within their own silo, but the silos can't communicate with each other, and that's where enterprise-wide or a company-wide, organization-wide view or management isn't possible with those siloed siloed tools.
So I'm going to go ahead.
And we heard exactly on that video up front what the end result of that is when you have those silos, what your users are going to do is they're going to fall back to email, and they're going to fall back to what they know, Teams or other things, but they're not your prescribed channels. That's the way they want.
Right.
And that's most often that's the least optimum for you. And it's the least optimum for the organization as a whole.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Kyle. I mean, you're you're limiting the ability of your staff, of your organization when you're siloed like that. And like you said, you're able to tackle the low hanging fruit, the big gotchas that everybody sees. But what you're not able to do is polish
Right.
the edges and really hone in on those idle best practices. And so what does that do? Where does that leave you? Well, cost wise, it's kind of three areas that it touches on: your soft costs, your hard costs, and your opportunity costs. Soft costs are time. Time could be a hard cost. Soft cost is comfort, ease of use, and those type of things. Hard costs are maintenance, time, outlay, and all of that. Opportunity costs. Opportunity cost is what you spent if you'd done something else. What else could you have done to solve this problem? And would a little additional outlay in hard cost have eliminated the opportunity cost or soft costs that were associated with it? So it's really a balancing act. Kyle, you mentioned your Jeep and your motorcycle earlier. I've got a pickup truck, and it's meant to haul a couple of things. I've got a sailboat, a small sailboat that it hauls. Doesn't need to be a really big truck. I don't need a big dually, a 250, 3,500 or whatever truck. Just a half ton is enough. There's costs associated with all of that. If I'd gotten a much bigger truck, I might be able to haul some other things. But when do I do that? That's an opportunity cost. How difficult is it to park because I bought too big of a truck? That's soft cost. Those trucks are definitely more expensive than my half ton. And what was my hard cost outlay? So all of that really applies across the board to the solutions that you're looking at.
Well, and even beyond that, you've also got, when you go shopping, because I just did it this last weekend. I took my son out. Mm-hmm. We stopped at a car lot just to kind of go browse in the market. And of course, you're always drawn to those cars, that just catch your eye for whatever reason. But of course, they're always up on the pedestal. They're always rotating. They're always under a big spotlight. And they always have a huge sticker price associated with them, right? And that's no different in the software realm either. And that's not a good or bad thing. That's just something to point out that, there's flashy tool. It really comes down to, for a lot of customers, is what is your ultimate driver goal in picking the right size tool? If it's, lowering costs and optimal efficiency and things like that at the expense of everything else, then there's one fit for that. If your ultimate goal is customer experience and the interaction that they have and the way that they come away feeling, about IT and support, that may be at the expense of cost and at the expense of simplicity. Right. And some things like that. And there's that constant trade-off. And I guess at the bottom of this whole conversation and back and forth today is, are you at the right trade-off? Are you at the right part of the curve where everything you're looking for in terms of customer experience and costs and the maintenance and the day-to-day and, how it is just to deal with the software? Does all that balance out with what you're paying?
Yeah. Well, and that kind of leads us to this next slide here. So, do you need to right size your purchase? And so Flycast can help. If you're a new customer, Flycast can help by helping you define your current environment. What does your environment look like? Assign costs to areas of that environment. You know, if you're doing on-prem solution, you've got capital outlays, maintenance costs, and all that. How does that compare to maybe a SaaS solution where it's not a capital outlay, it's an operating expense? So we can help you look at that current environment to help you understand size-wise what solution is going to help point you there. Addressing your current issues. You know, what are your problems today? You know, something that, you know, a lot of times when I'm talking to customers, Kyle, and I'm sure you do the same thing, you know, I ask them, what's keeping you from soccer games? What's keeping you from a baseball game? You know, what's happening at work that's impacting your personal life? You know, what are those big issues that you need to tackle? That's something that Flycast does. We're going to work with you to identify those issues, and help come up with a solution that's going to resolve those issues. That's going to be done through consulting and implementation and project management. We're going to help you. You know, the sales team at Flycast is going to help you right size your purchase, and then going forward, the implementation team is going to help implement that right size against what your current issues. They're going to use project management, project managers, project management best practices, all to help deliver that, including scalability plans. So, you know, you're not just set to go today, but the idea is to kind of help you be prepared for the future as well. And this is for new clients. Kyle, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, I just say, I think another big piece of, and it falls into consulting and the implementation and ongoing, you know, continual process improvement, is what I'll call, you know, kind of conquering your surrender problem. And I'm gonna copyright that, March 2021. And it's where, and because I hear this all the time, where customers have a tool and they know there's features of the tool that they can take advantage of, but I hear them say, but it'll never work. It'll never fly here. We can never get that to happen. And it's like they can't get over that hurdle. And there are tools, and there are, you know, psychological ways you could approach it. There's all kinds of things to help, because that is undeniably a huge part of being able to take full advantage of these solutions. It's not the technology.
Oh, yeah.
It's getting the user population, both the staff as well as the end users, bought into it, and buying into stuff oftentimes involves the forgotten pieces like marketing. Have you marketed? You know, when somebody says, well, our self-service portal, we tried it, you know, multiple times, it's never worked, but did you market it? Did you actually put a campaign? I mean, literally put some dollars into it, put a campaign out, and, you know, have flyers in the break room, and have, you know, email blasts going out, and, you know, social events announcing it. Did you do everything you could do to let everybody know why it was important and how it was going to benefit them, so that you can get over that hurdle of, well, they're just going to use email and there's nothing we can do about it?
Well, you know, and the other option there too is modifying your SLAs, so that when they interact with you in the mode or the channel that you prefer, the SLA is one thing, but when they maybe interact with you in the mode they prefer, which is not your preferred channel, the SLA is something different. You know, that's where our consulting and our implementation come in, and we're able to help organizations like that. So Kyle, the next slide here is about getting the most out of the purchase if you've already got a tool. And so the things that Flycast can help with, and it just flows along from the same things that we talked about from a brand new customer. You know, process analysis Are you using the tool properly? Is your data configured properly? Are you doing something maybe that you need to do differently with your data to help take advantage of the processes? We can also provide best practice training, idle training, idle certification, best practice training, all of those type of things to help current software users get the most out of what they're doing, and then support. Obviously, place to ask a question. Flycast provides L1 support for multiple vendors, and we're a great place to come to get those answers. Finally, there are remote administration services. You just can't get it. You need someone to connect in remotely to help. That's something that Flycast can provide as well to help you get the most out of the purchase that you've already made. Kyle, you got anything you want to add to that one before we move to the next slide?
No, go ahead, Bobby.
So what are the benefits of right sizing your tool with Flycast partners? It all comes down to cost and complexity. And the first benefit, obviously, from right sizing your ITSM tool is your initial outlay. It's going to be, if you're on-prem, that's going to be a capital expenditure. A lot of times that has to go through budgeting, and that adds time to the process. So you need to think about that. SaaS type solutions are operating budget, and while over the long haul, those can have a tendency to look more costly than an initial outlay. Those doesn't necessarily take into account ongoing maintenance. And so, that's one of the big benefits of cost benefits from right sizing your tool with Flycast is getting that ongoing maintenance right. I hate doing housework, and I certainly would not like to have twice the house that I have. It's just be more to have to clean, and I don't need the storage yet. So I want to keep that ongoing maintenance as low as possible.
Hey, Bobby, could I stop you for 1 second?
Yeah.
All right. Could we, Rich, could we throw up a quick poll question and just ask the group on if how many are using cloud-based tools versus on-premises? I'll explain or talk about a little bit more about the reasoning behind that after you get through this, Bobby.
Sure. Yeah, we got some nice results back on the what tools they were using. Probably close to half of the attendees were using an other tool, and then 25% of VMC tool, 25% of ServiceNow tool. I think 13 there for Sharewell. It's like most everybody right now is on-prem. If you're cloud-based,
even to the Sharewell and stuff installs, how many of those they have hosted somewhere versus they're actually running.
Yeah.
And ultimately, that's just part of the determination of are you right sized in your tool, and that are you spending money on maintenance that for an on-premises tool, for example, which entitles you, to get the downloads and keep everything up to date. But you typically are going to those support sites and you're downloading those updates, and you're going to schedule the time to apply them, and you're going to make sure everything works afterwards. Yep. And you got to do all that work. With the SaaS environment, that all goes away, as well as, of course, the hardware and the cost of putting it in a data center, or, air conditioning and power and everything goes along with that, licensing. That's a huge cost factor. And that may be where you're spending. I mean, for a vast majority, if you've been using a tool for, let's say, 6 years or more, it's been in place, typically those tools are kind of what I call set in stone. They've been baked in the first 3 or 4 years. Everybody's used to them. They're running. Nothing in terms of updates or improvements are being done. It's just business as usual. Let's keep it like it is. But typically so in those cases, the majority of your costs are just maintaining that server and keeping things updated. You're not making any updates to the software. You're not making any improvements. Now all of your costs just go to, it's 100% maintenance and cost that doesn't go towards your process or improvements or anything along those lines.
Yep, exactly right. And I mean, and that all ties in there with the time. You know, if the tool's not right sized, especially if it's too big, you're going to spend way too much time on it. You're going to spend too much time implementing it. You're going to spend too much time maintaining it, too much time using it. And time is money.
Well, and that's regardless of the organization. Where we hear all those customers, Bobby, I hear every single day, and it doesn't matter what tool they're on, when they're 5 versions back, or they're
exactly that's
6
right
versions back, right? So they're not even they haven't been updated in the last 3 or 4 years, so they're not even getting advantage of the new capabilities and things that their tools offer because they haven't been updated. And because it requires all that manual effort, you know, they just kind of become status quo. And so then now you're investing and paying for updates and features that you're not even taking advantage, or you're not even getting the fixes of the the patches, much less the new features.
And that just flows right over into opportunity cost. You know, what could you save if you were doing something different? And you know, what could you gain by doing something different? You know, what features could you roll out to your, what services could you provide rolling out to your customers? And so, you know, all of that flows into opportunity cost. All of that together then becomes your total cost of ownership. And again, that's where Flycast is going to help. We can help all along this stage here, initial outlay, looking at your maintenance time and opportunity costs, and help you with staff buy-in. You know, that's what Kyle was making a big point about that. Got to have customer buy-in, and to help ensure customer satisfaction. And now, why does Flycast care about these things? Flycast could just sell you whatever the biggest product is you can afford. I used to work with a guy that I've heard him say more times than not, when someone asks if we can make a tool do something, the answer would be, we can make it do it if it takes every penny you've got. And that's not the way you want to do this. You want to right size the tool, and you want to get your customer buy-in. And doing that, Flycast hopes turns you into a lifetime customer. We want you to become a Flycast customer. We want you here for life, and we want you to be references. And that doesn't happen unless we do a good job all along this line here: your initial outlay, your maintenance time, total cost of ownership. Kyle, you have anything to add there?
No, I'm good, Bobby.
Rich, do we have any questions?
No, we don't have any questions, and we did have some people participating, and some people, a couple of folks that definitely want the recording after, that had to jump, that didn't kind of want to leave. They made those comments. But folks, I appreciate you taking time out for today's presentation. I hope you got something out of this. The recording is available. Some of you have asked. Recording is going to be made available, and we'll make sure we get that out to you. And if you have any questions that you didn't ask today, send them to us. Give us a call, 844-FLYCAST. That's 844-359-2278. Email us at info@flycastpartners.com, or go to our website and chat with us live Monday through Friday during regular business hours. That's what they're there for. They're happy to answer any questions you have. Colin, Bobby, great presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
All right, folks, until our next broadcast, go ahead and stay safe out there, and we'll see you next time around.